Matt Moscona.
I'm very important.
After further review.
Say it one more time.
After further review with Matt Moscona.
And here we go.
Live from the Raising Cane studio.
Let's ride!
Hour number 3 off and running after further review, presented by Don Juan Cigar Bar. Here on a Friday, Musso in for Moscona. Scone is back on Monday. Jordan Kitchens, Paul O'Neill along for the ride, and we're happy to have you along for the ride with us as well, whether you're just making us a part of your day because transfer portal opening, you're still enjoying your holiday, or if you had to go back to work today as well, and you're hopping in your car, knocking off, heading home, part of your afternoon, evening commute. We appreciate that, obviously. As well. Man, we've had a busy show here today, obviously with the transfer portal opening, returners to LSU over the last 2 days being announced by the program, visits already being scheduled, including from Brendan Sorsby, one of the top quarterbacks available in the transfer portal out of Cincinnati, visiting Texas Tech and LSU. Talked about that in the last hour. If you miss anything, of course, AFR On Demand, presented by Brett Golf, YouTube, AFR LSU, AFR Saints, and then, of course, our podcast, wherever you get your podcasts as well. Apple, Spotify, Google, all those places. You can find the show and anything you missed there as well. When we closed hour 2, we were talking about Terrell Anderson, a wide receiver out of NC State who's in the transfer portal. He led NC State in receiving yards this season. True sophomore, so has 2 years of eligibility left. He's lining up a visit to LSU. While he lines his up, there's another wide receiver that has already locked his in, and that is Iverson Hooks. Iverson Hooks is out of UAB, the University of Alabama, Birmingham. Hayes Fawcett had this report earlier. Hooks will visit LSU next week, January 7th through the 8th. It is one of many visits that he is lining up, so there's going to be hotly contested competition here, and from, again, some portal powers. I'll just give you his entire visit list. Again, this is per Hayes Fawcett. So Iverson Hooks, highly sought-after wide receiver in the portal out of UAB, will visit Wisconsin January 3rd through the 4th, Indiana January 4th through the 5th, Oklahoma State the 6th through the 7th. We said LSU the 7th through the 8th. He'll be on the plains at Auburn the 8th through the 9th. And then he is still lining up visits to Oregon and Louisville. Those are still to be announced. So this is 7 schools, y'all, that you're in on. This is not an imminent commitment or anything of that nature, but it's a guy LSU's in on, and it's a guy that they really should be because, man, he's had a really interesting journey. And, well, let's just take it from the top, actually. Let's just take his journey kind of from the top. So Iverson Hooks has been at UAB for 4 seasons, but he has played in 2. So he redshirted 1 year, and technically 2025, this past season, was his redshirt season. So he redshirted 1 year. He is seeking 2 more years of eligibility, though, because of injuries. So while he's been in school for 4 years, he's only played 2. Injuries have hampered in that, along with a redshirt year. So he's seeking 2 more years. When he was finally healthy and able to go out there and play was 2025, and he dominated. 72 receptions, just shy of 1,000 yards, 927 yards, 7 touchdowns. By far his most productive season. And he had a long of 41 if you're into that. A 51 if you're into those kind of things as well. By far his most productive season, but it coincided really with his healthiest and most available season as well. Not the biggest guy, 5'10", 175. So maybe more in that, that Aaron Anderson, Barry Brown type, 6 foot and below mold. But he's been extremely, extremely productive this year. Why I say LSU should be in on him? Well, it's the 2 extra years of eligibility thing. He's an older player, right? He's seen a lot in college football. Like talent aside. Okay, we're putting the talent and the production aside from right now. He's an older player. He's seen a lot in college football. He's been through a lot just in his own career, ups, downs, adversity, overcome it. You love that type of character. And then the multiple potential for multiple years of eligibility. We talked about that with Terrell Anderson as well. Terrell Anderson had played 2 years at NC State as a true sophomore. Obviously, that guy has designs on coming here, having a great year, and going off to the NFL. And I'm sure Iverson Hooks does as well. But let's say it takes him a little longer. Let's say, just for the sake of argument, coming from the Sun Belt to the SEC is a little bit different than coming from Power 4 competition in the ACC to the SEC, using a guy like Anderson, for example. So it takes Hooks a little longer. Well, then maybe you have a really dynamic, productive player for multiple years, which you need. Because, I mean, I'll run through the names again, but we've already done it multiple times throughout the show at wide receiver. But, I mean, that is a really huge need for LSU. And not only do you need immediate impact contributors, you need a couple guys maybe who will be here for multiple years. You have a lot of young talent. And let me be clear. I want to see that young talent. Like, man, I want to see Phillip Wright. That guy was an awesome receiver coming out of Destrehan 2 cycles ago. I want to see Teron Francis out of Edna Carr. His nickname was Man-Child. Like, I want to see that guy. But when I look at this and I go, okay, Nick Anderson, Phillip Wright, Teron Francis, Jabari Mack, Corey Barber, Braden Allen, I need immediate impact guys, and I need guys who are going to be here for a couple of years as well. And I think Iverson Hooks could absolutely fill that mold, provided his eligibility and all that is granted the way he wants it, and he gets that year or two extra, then he can definitely fill that role for you. And I think that'd be magnificent. Because again, you are losing, or at least potentially could be losing, 80% of your production from your receivers. I say potentially because, well, we still need to see what happens with Kyle Parker. Kyle Parker has announced his intention to enter the transfer portal. But I mean, y'all, I don't know about you. I would sure love to have Kyle Parker back if I'm LSU. I mean, you talk about a guy that's had a interesting journey in his time so far in Baton Rouge. I mean, he's had to fight to get on the field, and even when he's been able to do that, injuries have cropped up. I mean, just look at last year. He loses just about all of last year to an injury. But early in the season, when LSU was looking for somebody to stretch the field with, Kyle Parker was really one of the only guys in 2024 early that you could accomplish that with. Him and Aaron Anderson. He has flashed plenty in his time at LSU. And it was just a shame, because the injury cut his freshman season short. And because of that, he's going to be on the mend, recovery. You didn't get to see a full season of him. He ends up getting covered up in the depth chart a little bit with what you added in the transfer portal. But when he got his opportunity, I mean, he caught 31 balls for you, 330 yards, 4 touchdowns. And he's awesome in space. The interesting thing, if you compare him to a guy like Iverson Hooks, they're really similar. We said Hooks was like 5'10", 190 pounds. Parker's 5'11", 195. But LSU had 3 of those guys on their team this year. So, and again, that pushes you down a depth chart. If LSU is just automatically going back out and getting that guy again, what does that do for Kyle Parker's, decision? I can tell you right now, I would love to have him back. I think he'd be absolutely kind of invaluable in a sense almost to LSU to have him back, just because it's experience in that room. And it's somebody who I think would be awesome in Lane Kiffin's offense. Talk about high percentage throws that are in there, getting the ball to your playmakers in space, Kyle Parker could thrive in that. I think he showed it in the bowl game. And I thought, man, that's going to be something that's really, enticing to this new staff watching him put on that performance. And maybe it will be. We'll see what tends to happen with Kyle Parker. And that could change the math a little bit for you at receiver, but not by much. You need a lot of bodies there and a lot of experienced bodies, more so than anything. So the two that we know of right now, Terrell Anderson out of NC State, he's the bigger target, about 6'3", 205, 210, somewhere in that range. Already added 23 pounds before this season. He's the bigger target. He's lining his visit up. And then Iverson Hooks, who's a little bit of a smaller target, 5'10", 190, somewhere in that range out of UAB, who's dealt with some injuries as well, will visit LSU next week on January 7th through the 8th. That is Wednesday and I believe that's Wednesday and Thursday, I do believe, for next week. So we'll keep you posted. That's the latest there on kind of the wide receiver room for LSU. They need a lot of bodies and a lot of experience, that's for sure. And I have no doubt that they'll get it. They'll get that easily. Lane's got it in the portal. All right, we're going to grab a break. We're going to come back on the other side, continue with more here on a Friday edition of AFR. Still have to give you a final thought and prediction for Saints Falcons. No auto locks today, obviously, but I'm sure they're up at LouisianaSports.net if you miss things. We never catch up with Jimmy here, so still got plenty to do. A couple more segments left here on a Friday edition of AFR. Stick around.
After further review.
If you fill up Tiger Stadium 15 times, that'd be roughly 1.5 million people. That's how many realtors there are in the United States. Darren James ranked number 14 in the country when it comes to the numbers of homes sold. That's Wall Street Journal's Real Trends list. Think about what I just said. Fill up Tiger Stadium 15 times, and of all those people, Darren James ranked number 14. You need to get to a closing table. Need to sell your home fast for the most amount of money. You need the absolute best customer service experience with constant communication and results. Well, you need Darren James. So, call Darren. 335-7666, 335-7666, 335-7666. That's Darren Sell. Or go to agent225.com, agent225.com.
Think real estate, think Darren James.
After further review with Matt Moscona, presented by Don Juan Cigar Bar.
Brought to you by Shawbills Tire and Auto Service, ShawbillsTire.com. 18 locations in South Louisiana. Find the location nearest you at ShawbillsTire.com. Bumper-to-bumper auto service and name brand tires at wholesale prices. They will always find a way to get you the best possible price for the best possible tires on the road. That's what they do at Shawbills. And when they get you in by selling you the best tires at the cheapest price possible, they're going to treat you like family, and they're going to treat you so good you're going to keep coming back year after year after year every time you need anything for your vehicle. Tires rotated, oil changed, check engine light on, brakes squeaking, whatever's wrong with your vehicle, bring it to Shawbills. Let them give it the once-over, and you can always schedule online, so it's convenient. ShawbillsTire.com. Find the location nearest you at ShawbillsTire.com. Shop tires online at ShawbillsTire.com. Be sure to ask about the Shawbills credit card as well, because you can save $50 off your first purchase when you use the Shawbills credit card only at Shawbills.
All right, welcome back in after the review here on a Friday, presented by Don Juan's Cigar Bar. Musso in for Moscona. A couple more players I wanted to mention here. Keep an eye on in the transfer portal. We talked earlier in the show about when we were going through the portal needs, and I had separated them into categories: top positions of need, positions to add competition, positions that need depth, and then positions with depth but need another starter. And one of those was edge rusher. a name to keep an eye on is Chaz Coleman. If you're not familiar, Chaz Coleman just completed his freshman season at Penn State. He is a highly, highly, highly sought after. I should say he was a highly, highly, highly sought after high school recruit, 4-star out of the state of Ohio. He commits to Penn State, signs, plays there. Obviously, with the coaching change and playing sparingly in his first season, enters the transfer portal. 6 solo tackles. He did have a sack and a forced fumble in limited action there as a freshman. In fact, he played. Let's see. He played in 5 games. They were all in the regular season, so he used his red shirt up. Obviously, there his 1 sack came in his debut against FIU. He is, Chaz Coleman, the number 1 edge in the transfer portal per on 3, and the number 3 overall player in the transfer portal per on 3. Steve Wiltfong of On 3 and Rivals had a report today. It was originally thought Ohio State would be the team to really watch for Chaz Coleman, but now 2 new ones have emerged as the leaders, and they are Tennessee and your Fighting Tigers of LSU. No visit, anything like that set yet with a guy like Chaz Coleman, but definitely one to keep an eye on as LSU emerging. It looks like it's going to be an SEC battle there as the Tennessee Volunteers. Look, he'll have many other suitors, obviously, as well. Don't misunderstand me there, but definitely a guy worth keeping an eye on. A lot of untapped potential there. I mean, 6'4", 240. He's just really built in that mold that you want to see from an edge here. He played a total of 150 snaps for Penn State this season and graded out an 80. Y'all, in 5 games, 150 snaps, he was Penn State's 4th highest graded defensive player overall. Pass rush grade just absolutely off the charts. You look at it, he graded out, he played in, I take that back. ESPN had it wrong. He played in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 games. He played in 9 games for Penn State. ESPN, I guess, because he didn't record stats in the other, didn't have their stats up there. That's weird. Anyway, so he played in 9 games. Chaz Coleman did. Graded out an 80 overall. Penn State's 4th highest defensive player, 150 snaps, and his pass rush grade was a 90.3 on the year. Hi, hello. How are you doing? He only had the 1 sack, but how about 10 hurries? I mean, he was all over the place. 15 total pressures, 10 hurries. He was awesome. So that's a name to keep an eye on, Chaz Coleman for Penn State. LSU, Tennessee, really the top 2 emerging there per Steve Wiltfong earlier today on Friday when the transfer portal opened. One other name to keep an eye on. We haven't talked very much about special teams in the portal right now for LSU. And, that is actually something to keep an eye on because Damian Ramos is going. I think everyone looks at Aaron Burrell potentially as the heir apparent there. And I think if Brian Kelly and that regime were still in charge, I think that would be the way they go. Right now, I would say maybe not so fast. Aaron Burrell's got a massive leg. I mean, we've seen that on kickoffs. We haven't ever really seen him, as the place kicker at LSU. So there's a little bit of unknown there. And again, with the new staff coming in, something to maybe keep an eye on there is the kicker. And one name in particular is Evan Noel. Evan Noel is a former Florida Gator. He entered the transfer portal on New Year's Eve, Wednesday night. He entered the transfer portal. He just spent his freshman year at Florida, didn't play at all. So he's got everything left for him eligibility-wise. Can use that as his redshirt year. Have 4 years left to play. He was the number 1 ranked kicker in the class of the 2025. Number one ranked kicker. Cole's kicking. I should say 24/7 Sports had him as the number one ranked kicker in 2025. Cole's kicking gave him a 5-star rating. In there, the reason I say keep an eye on him is, well, Joe Houston recruited him very heavily at Florida, and Joe Houston is now LSU special teams coordinator. That's a very obvious tie, there for a guy like Evan Noel. I think that's a little bit stronger than maybe Arkansas. I bring up Arkansas because that's where he was originally committed to before Florida flipped him. But I mean, look, you know what they say, finishing second in recruiting is never bigger now than with the transfer portal. But I would very much expect LSU to be involved there with Evan Noel, and I think that'd be great. And then you could have a true battle there on your hands potentially at the kicker position. If Aaron Burrell sticks around, you know he's going to get a crack at being LSU's place kicker. If not, he can absolutely stick around and potentially kick off still. But a guy like Evan Noel is definitely somebody to keep a close eye on because of the tie with Joe Houston, who is now at LSU. It's after further review here on a Thursday. Let me get you a quick sponsor read from Matt here. If you have one queued up over there, Jordan. Okay, let's just go to that now.
Brought to you by Relief Windows and ReliefWindows.com. You know, when we talk about Relief Windows every day, I always say windows, doors, siding, and now shutters as well. They do your indoor shutters. Same thing as the windows. Custom made, measured to fit your windows, custom fit for your windows, lifetime warranty on your windows, your shutters. But Brandon, you often hear say their number one product is customer satisfaction. And that's not just a catchy line. That's not a cliche phrase. Have an experience with Relief Windows and you'll understand. They go to the ends of the earth to make sure their customers are thrilled with the work they do. As a matter of fact, Relief Windows never takes $1 from you. You will not, no deposit, no down payment. They take all the risk. They will not take $1 until you're thrilled with the work they do. Who else does that? Only Relief Windows. Check them out online at ReliefWindows.com.
All right, we're about to get to a break. Before we do that, I did want to offensive line is such a big position of need for LSU, specifically tackle. And a former LSU Tiger went into the transfer portal today, and that's Lance Hurd. And let me be clear, this is just pure speculation on my part at all. I'm literally thinking out loud here. I don't know if LSU has interest in bringing Lance Hurd back. I don't know if Lance Hurd has interest in coming back. That is a Louisiana native who was a former 5-star who originally committed to LSU. It ended poorly with the NIL negotiations and him wanting more money and then leaving and going to Tennessee because of that. But that whole regime is now gone. Like, where that ended poorly is no longer here. From front office to head coach to position coach, all of it. That has changed. And I do wonder if that is something that LSU potentially considers, because it is. And again, just wondering. I'm purely wondering and talking with all of you at this out loud right now. Because you need, you got to have a left tackle. And for a while, in the perfect world, Hurd was going to be the heir apparent to Will Campbell. He was a high school teammate of Will Campbell. It wouldn't be a long-term fix. It could potentially be a short-term fix. LSU would first have to have some interest there as well again, and Lance Hurd would have to have interest in returning. But, the fact of the matter is that's a guy who had 832 snaps at left tackle this year in the SEC and was a third-team all-conference performer. Right? So, that's it's a guy who graded out as the second best pass blocker on Tennessee's team and had his best Pro Football Focus year to date. Just something to maybe file away. It could be absolutely nothing. It could not come to fruition at all. I think you always look for ties and things of that nature in the transfer portal. Hell, we were just talking about Evan Noel, the kicker from Florida, and is tied to Joe Houston, who's now at LSU. You can look at when Jakeem Jackson committed here, when Corey Raymond came back, and Jakeem Jackson goes into the portal at Florida, ends up at LSU. So I mean, there's always ties there. It doesn't have to just be coaches. It can be ties. I mean, think further back. Mekhi Garner is a great example of this. And Brian Kelly's first year, had ties to the state with his time at ULL. Gets the opportunity at LSU, was awesome. I mean, you've seen that with many other Louisiana natives even coming home in the portal and having a lot of success. Aaron Anderson, I mean, who just left LSU, is a perfect example of that. So, something to file away. It's a crazy time that we live in here in college football. That's for sure. So maybe I just thought it'd be worth mentioning here. Kind of as we go forward into the weekend and into full-on portal chaos and portal season. File it away. We'll see. All right, we're going to grab a break, come back on the other side. Got to give you a final thought and prediction on Saints and Falcons, so we'll go ahead and get that out of the way next here on AFR. Stay tuned.
After further review.
AFR is brought to you by the Watermark Hotel and the Renaissance Hotel, two beautiful hotel properties in Baton Rouge, the Watermark downtown, the Renaissance Southtown right there on Bluebonnet. And when it comes to hosting your event, both the Watermark and the Renaissance are perfect. The Watermark is a gorgeous, elegant spot in downtown Baton Rouge. That wedding reception, that smaller gathering, that meeting space, they can do it. They've kept so much of the history and tradition of that iconic building while modernizing it. The Gregory is a great restaurant inside of the Watermark as well. And then, of course, the Renaissance Hotel, Southtown, right there on Bluebonnet in Baton Rouge. It's more modern. It's a gorgeous, gorgeous hotel property at the Renaissance Hotel where they have meeting space that can accommodate up to 500 people, 7,000 square foot of meeting space, perfectly located right off of Bluebonnet and I-10. It's the Watermark and the Renaissance Hotels in Baton Rouge.
After further review with Matt Musso, presented by Don Juan Cigar Bar.
Always a pleasure to tell you about our friends at the Williamson Eye Center. Check them out online at williamsoneye.com. They've got locations all over the greater Baton Rouge area. On the Baton Rouge General Campus, I mean, you turn off a Bluebonnet onto Picardy, you make that right. And then right there at the stop sign, the building on the right, the first two floors, that's the Williamson Eye Center. State-of-the-art dry eye center, and it's full service. Of course, they have their state-of-the-art surgery center there where you can have your LASIK or whatever surgical procedure you're having. But they have your standard annual eye exam as well at the Williamson Eye Center. Learn more at williamsoneye.com. The thing I tell you every day is take the advice that I was given and change your life. To give yourself the gift of sight is absolutely incredible. If you're someone like me who spent your life with contacts or glasses, there is a way to be done with it forever. WilliamsonEye.com. Go see Dr. Blake Williamson for that free consultation. 924-2020, 924-2020, or WilliamsonEye.com for the Williamson Eye Center.
The 2025 Saints season will come to a close on Saturday. It will come to a close in Atlanta as the Saints battle the rival Falcons in Mercedes-Benz Stadium for the final time. And, man, what a run. What a run that it has been for the New Orleans Saints here over the last month and some change. Saints undefeated in the month of December. They have won 4 straight games. It is the longest winning streak in the franchise since the 2020 season when New Orleans won 9 straight, won the division, and went to the playoffs last time for both of those things. So it's been a pretty awesome sprint to the finish for Kellen Moore. It has been punctuated and highlighted by a lot of awesome performances from young players from this draft class, even rookies from this draft class, and just young players in general, like Chris Olave, like Chase Young, and you get the rookies like Kelvin Banks, obviously Tyler Shuck, Tyler Shuck's just been phenomenal and looks like he's, headed after hopefully a great performance against the Falcons on Sunday to an Offensive Rookie of the Year win. Jonas Sanker on the defensive side. There's been plenty, and we've talked about it all. It has been a very, very encouraging last month and some change for the New Orleans Saints, really since Tyler Shuck took over as the starting quarterback against the Los Angeles Rams 2 weeks before your bye. In that time, you've seen the Saints go 5-3. And they are playing arguably some of the best football in the NFC South. Them and the Atlanta Falcons. The two teams who have been eliminated from playoff contention because, well, you know, the NFC South. It just is what it is. And those two teams will meet. And there won't be the fanfare around the game that you'll have with the Bucs and the Panthers to decide the division. But each team is really looking to close out the season strong, as Atlanta has won 3 in a row, including their Monday night victory over the Rams, in which they were just dominant for a large majority of that football game. A 4-game winning streak, a 3-game winning streak. Which team gets to close out their season on the highest of notes? That's the question you're trying to answer on Sunday. To do that, let's go back and look at the last game first, and then we'll talk about, you know, how things may be different this time around. The last game against the Atlanta Falcons for the New Orleans Saints, if you don't remember, was incredibly frustrating. The Saints lost that 24-10, and it was just a day of missed opportunities in the Superdome for the black and gold. The Saints out first down Atlanta 21-13. They had the time of possession edge. The Saints were better in the penalty department. They moved the ball fine. They were more efficient on third down than Atlanta. They ran 78 plays to Atlanta's 55. The Saints did a lot of things very, very well. But it was frustrating because the other thing the Saints did is they missed a whole bunch of opportunities in that football game. Blake Grupe missed 2 field goals. One of them was 33 yards, and that eventually very much contributed toward his release from this team. And on top of that, the New Orleans Saints. So you had a missed 47-yard field goal from Grupe, a missed 33-yard from Grupe, and on top of that, New Orleans was 0 for 3. 0 for 3 in the red zone back in the first meeting against the Atlanta Falcons. They left everything out on the field. So many points. And that's why when you look up and you see them leading the majority of the statistical categories, you remember and look back and say, yeah, that was really, really frustrating. It was such a bad offensive day for the Saints. You mustered 3 points. Yes, you scored 10, but the only touchdown the New Orleans Saints scored against Atlanta the first go-around was a pick 6 from Justin Reed. Everything else was putrid on offense. Now, we say all that with the caveat of, okay, well, Charlie Smith is now your kicker, and he's been pretty darn good. He's been really good, actually. I believe he missed 3 kicks or 2. I can look that up real quick. And one of them was like a 61-yarder that had plenty of leg. It was just, inaccurate. Yes, 3 kicks. Okay, that's what I thought. 3 kicks with a long of 57. He's been fantastic. He's hitting his 78% clip. So you feel pretty good running your kicker out there now if you have to settle for field goals against Atlanta at some point throughout this game. Whereas in the first meeting, you did not. That was Tyler Shuck's 3rd start. This will be his 9th. And for what it's worth, up until that point, that was one of Tyler Shuck's, best games, was the first meeting with Atlanta, at least statistically. It was. In terms of his starts, when he completed almost 70% of his passes, he threw for just under 250 yards. The issue is he was sacked 5 times and he threw an interception. Other than that, the efficiency and everything we know was there. It was also really kind of the first time you saw him really use his legs. Tyler Shuck, now, 6 starts later, much, much more improved. The Saints should be healthier along the offensive line. Cesar Ruiz has no injury designation. He will play in this game. Dylan Radins is questionable. The only starting offensive lineman that you will be without, not counting Trevor Penning, who you traded away, would be Eric McCoy. That's an upgrade for the Saints. Your defense has been really, really good. And you know what? Your defense was good against Atlanta in the first meeting anyway. They barely eclipsed 300 yards. You held Bijan Robinson in check, just 70 yards rushing, which is a feat. He's got 1,400 yards rushing on the season, and he just put the Rams in a blender for almost 200 yards rushing alone. And in some of their biggest wins, he's shown out. Against the Rams, against the Bills. But your defense has been really good, especially down the back half of the season to where they're a top 10 defense in the NFL now. And you held that offense in check the first go-round. The problem is the lack of weapons that the Saints still possess on offense and how it's gotten even worse with Chris Olave now and his very unfortunate blood clot that has been remedied, and he'll be ready within a month, and he'll be in the offseason program and all that on time, and that's great. But that doesn't help you any on Sunday. And Chris Olave was your everything at this point in the passing game. And, I mean, he was incredible. Gone over 100 yards the last 2 weeks, making a lot of clutch catches, and really being the go-to target for Tyler Shuck that you expect your number one wide receiver to be. And the reason he needed to do that is because you were without, well, everybody else. You might get a few guys back. We'll see what happens with Devon Vele here. He was not on the injury report. He has not been placed on IR. They were hopeful that maybe he could be back by the Atlanta game. So that's all a good sign. We'll ultimately continue to monitor that throughout the rest of the weekend and see how it goes. That's a big get for you back. But there's still no Olave. There's still no Mason Tipton. You're going to still be looking at a steady diet of Kevin Austin and Dante Pettis. And look, that's been good enough to support Johnson and Olave through these last few weeks. Without Olave, is it? I have a major question mark there. There will be no Alvin Kamara. There is still no Devin Neal. Audric Estime. Well, you just had 90-some-odd yards a week ago. How do you follow that up? You're going to need to. Against the Falcons defense, that's pretty darn good. A Falcons defense that handled you really well the first go-round. And that concerns me. Plus, it's on the road. I think finally the Saints' offense from a weapons standpoint is too short-handed this week. The only thing that would give me pause is which Atlanta Falcons team shows up. Is it the Atlanta Falcons team that beat the Buffalo Bills 24-14? Or is it the Atlanta Falcons team that lost 34-10 to the Miami Dolphins at home? Is it the Falcons team that beat the Rams 27-24? Or is it the Falcons team that went on the road and lost to the New York Jets? Or maybe even the one that got shut out 30-0 at Carolina? That's the question that has to be asked and has to be answered. I tend to think, looking at how they're playing right now, they've been running the ball extremely well the last 3 weeks. Their offense is doing very, very well. 29, 26, 27 points each the last 3 weeks. Kirk Cousins is not setting the world on fire, but he's playing very efficient. Just one turnover in his last 3 and completing well over 60% of his passes. His one magnificent big game was the win at Tampa Bay. Them at home playing very efficient on offense and on defense. You with just a lack of weapons. I think this is the week that it finally catches up to the Saints. That's a bummer, man, because they have just been awesome to watch throughout this season. And I think they are really set up for a nice year in 2026 where they potentially could compete for this division. But I do think the winning streak comes to an end and they lose Sunday over in Atlanta to the Falcons. I will take that one 27-24 in that ball game. Falcons over Saints. I do expect some scoring, but ultimately not enough for New Orleans. So we'll see how it goes. And look, that's not the worst thing in the world. It would give you a 4th place schedule. And feeling as good as everything feels around that program now. Everyone really starting to emerge and grow and improve. Rookies, young players, all of that. Having a little bit more cap room, maybe spend a little bit more in free agency this offseason, coming up against the fourth place schedule. That'd be pretty awesome to see if the New Orleans Saints, in fact, do that, and maybe that helps them make the run at the division and potentially, a playoff spot if that's the regard. But I do think the Saints. I do think the Saints drop it. Did I say 27-24? Because if I did, that was wrong. My pick was 27-20. Sorry about that. 27-20, not 27-24. But I do like the Falcons. All right. We're going to grab a break, come back on the other side. We will close out the week here on AFR. More next. Stick around.
AFR.
Brought to you by South Point Volkswagen, southpointvw.com. New and certified pre-owned in Baton Rouge and online at southpointvw.com. In the market for a new vehicle? The heart of the holidays is the strength of our community. And at Brock, we're honored to help keep it moving. From young athletes to weekend warriors, we're here when you need us. From all of us at Brock, we wish you a warm and healthy holiday season.
After Further Review with Matt Musso, presented by Don Juan Cigar Bar.
Let's Rev, R-E-V, letsrev.com, letsrev.com. You ever just get super frustrated at super slow internet? Oh, we've all been there, man. The little spinning wheel, slamming your keyboard or your mouse, pounding the desk because it's so frustrating. Your internet's so slow. Storm comes, knocks the power out, knocks the internet out, knocks the cable out. You're so frustrated. Maybe that's just me because I get kind of angry about things. But it's annoying. Nobody wants that to happen. Rev can help. They're local and 5 gigs, lightning fast speeds, and backed by an all-fiber network. Fiber. It's buried under the ground. I mean, you don't have to worry about a storm coming knocking the power lines down. Let's Rev. Listen, more than 70,000 Louisiana homeowners and business owners trust Rev. You should as well. R-E-V. 90 years of local experience. Let'sRev.com. Let'sRev.com.
All right, final segment here on AFR. A quick note as we get out of here. You probably saw this. Strange times in college athletics. This came across New Year's Eve. LSU's bringing back James Craig. Of course, former offensive line coach. He was the offensive line coach in 2019 for the Joe Moore award-winning offensive line that I just maintain does not get anywhere near the credit that they deserve. I mean, two of those guys started as rookies in the NFL, and both of them are still starting in the NFL, by the way. And you've also seen plenty of other players from that line start in the NFL, whether it's Ed Ingram, Austin Deculus. Like, I mean, they've all had their moments. But anyway, I digress. James Craig, you might remember, that ended very poorly between LSU and Craig and continued to go poorly and sour after his firing for cause in 2020 during the COVID season. It was for recruiting violations, pandemic recruiting violations. And after that, he filed a wrongful termination suit against LSU, won that lawsuit and was awarded nearly $500,000 in it. And then that ruling was overturned and then upheld. But now it looks like everything's okay. James Craig, after being fired at LSU, went to the NFL for 3 seasons and then joined Ole Miss's staff, where he has been an analyst under Lane Kiffin, and he will follow Kiffin to Baton Rouge. I know I saw Matt Moscona's Twitter earlier today. Scone, who's supposed to be on vacation, tweeted out that he confirmed that James Craig was in the building, was in football ops today with LSU. So, look, man, if everything's good, there's no bad blood between him and the university. That's cool. I love that. I think that's great to have another voice in there around the offensive lineman. I'm never going to say no to that, considering how much LSU's unit struggled here in 2025. You need really kind of all the help you can get there, and if he and Eric Wolford can tag team that thing, and any other role that Craig can play on the offensive side as an analyst or whatever his title may end up being, at LSU, then I'm all for it, man. I mean, it's a guy who was in the building for the greatest season of all time, and can hopefully bring some of that culture and mojo that was there. I mean, look, I'm not in the building every day, so I don't really know. I don't know James Craig, but it's that's sure. Sign me up. Sign me up for those things. Just it was odd. I saw that on New Year's Eve, and I said, "Oh, okay. I guess things are better now." And then finally, as we have about a minute left, the LSU men's basketball team, they'll open up SEC play on Saturday at around 3:00. They'll be in College Station, take on A&M. Tigers are 12-1. Aggies are 10-3. Texas A&M did just lose one of their starting player for the season. Make sure I have his name. It was a difficult one to Mackenzie Magbacko. He's played 7 games. I was averaging 18 minutes, but he is out for the year now. Forward for Texas A&M. LSU men's team looking to get off to a great start here in conference play. Man, their pre-conference wasn't littered with pitfalls, but there was some adversity, and it wasn't littered with a lot of challenges, but there was some adversity, and they look now to start the second half of their season, and the one that really matters. And if they can hover around 500 in SEC play and get some nice wins along the way, you would imagine them being at the most recent bracketology from Joe Lunardi. They were a 10 seed, part of the last 4 buys, so they're in a good position as they start the SEC schedule. All right, that's going to wrap it up. We'll have thoughts on that, I'm sure, on Monday. Matt will have some thoughts on that game, as well as plenty on the transfer portal. It's been a blast filling in for Scone the last few days, the last couple of weeks, 5 days total. Appreciate everybody for hanging out. Hope you had a great Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. And here's to 2026, y'all. Hope it's very it was very plentiful for all of you, as well as everyone in this room and everyone that we work with here at Guarantee. Happy New Year. We'll see you on Monday. Matt's back then.
AFR.
AFR is brought to you by Parish Restoration. Kill mold, remove odor, other harmful pathogens, commercial or residential. As a matter of fact, Parish Restoration, I love the process, by the way. If you go to the website at parishrestoration.com, you can see videos of their patented non-toxic dry fog treatment. So you see exactly what it looks like. Very cool. But they have fogged, over at Parish Restoration, they fogged one of the largest buildings in the entire state of Louisiana. So it doesn't matter if it's your office building, your church, whatever it may be, school, or your home. They can even fog your car. Maybe your car has a weird odor, musty smell. Maybe you bought a used car from a smoker and you can't get that smoky smell out. This will do it. They'll come while you're at work, fog it. By the time you're done with work for the day, boom, you're back in a clean-smelling, fresh-smelling vehicle. It's Parish Restoration. Learn more at parishrestoration.com. Parishrestoration.com. Do business with someone you know. Parishrestoration.com.